All right. Well, welcome back for the second time to the podcast.
Second
Brent,
time. Yeah.
second time. You get to join the club. There's only a few folks, second timers. So really excited
Oh,
to have
thank
you
you.
back on and catch up and all that good stuff. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing good. Other than some of the home challenges with the
Yeah.
house, we got a house that was 75 years old. So for those who
Mm,
have old homes, you can imagine
yeah.
what the pipes are like. So we're dealing with pipes right now in our house.
Yeah. Fun times. Do you work like 100% from home these days?
No, I have a little office that I go to. It's like
Okay.
my little studio where I film videos like this. And I have another corner of the office where I work, and then another corner that I film more kind of talking head professional videos. So
Yeah.
it's a
Okay.
great little quiet spot.
Yeah, cool. Well, I was going to say it's just kind of like, the joys of balancing entrepreneurship. I work from home solely, pretty
Yeah.
much. I mean, every once in a while I go to my wife's office to do, like you said, like videos and stuff like that. But I'm like solely here. And so a lot of the times it's just like going from a meeting to meeting this person who's going to be, well, this week we're replacing our gutters. So that's fun.
Yeah.
Fun
Then
money
you
to
walk to
spend.
the kitchen and make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Right. Yeah. So you're just kind of always in it. But
Yep.
anyway, well, why don't we start with you just introducing yourself, who you are and what do you do to serve this great community of therapists and practice owners?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're on talking about three ways the CRM can solve the most pressing sales and marketing challenges for practice owners. And I have a little bit of a origin story that came with that. So my wife is a practice owner. Back in like 2021, we were running up against an issue with our Google Sheet, and the Google Sheet had 80 people on a wait list, and then it also we're getting like 60 new leads a month. So my wife was like, Brent, this is not sustainable. No amount of colors or pivot tables that we create could actually solve. Like she just thinks, I think, clients are falling through the cracks. I don't
Yeah.
know which ones. And then our intake coordinator is like, Brent, I'm pulling my hair out. Like this is it. Like, and then if she was to go on vacation, our intake coordinator, and she's a grandmother, she has to see her grandkids. Like it was just a nightmare just preparing Susan and the team to do it. So something really
Yeah.
had to change. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But before that, the whole idea of a CRM and TheraSaaS came about. Uh, let's see here, but maybe 4 years prior to that, I was helping scale up Kid Matters Counseling, which is my wife's practice, and then a couple other ones that were like, Brent, I see what you're doing with your wife's practice. Can you help me do that? So I've
Yeah.
partnered with now about 12 private practices across the country to just scale them up. And what does that look like is what I've come in with. I kind of like a playbook. So I come in with contracts, operational policy manuals, sort of like a plug and play for practice owners
Hmm.
who really wanted to scale up. So I bring in the marketing and sales part, which is why the CRM like TheraSaaS became really important to do that good work. And then there was the operational side, and then also the finances. So I would bring in Nate, our friend from Navigator
Yeah.
Bookkeeping, to help bring in some of the bookkeeping help. So we just had a whole complete picture. They could focus on the clinical side, and I was helping them. We were kind of setting up these systems to scale essentially.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's
awesome.
what I've been doing. So I have a huge background in marketing and some of the operations. And then the CRM came about because there were some real other pressing like revenue challenges that we were having that a CRM
Yeah.
was helping us solve or getting insight to. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I've been up to.
Yeah. So that was like hands-on experience of like these 12 clients were having these challenges and
Yeah.
you were really just helping to solve those challenges, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, okay, let's take a marketing example, one for example. So like if you have Google Analytics, you set up your conversion tracking, and Google Analytics will be saying, hey, you got like let's say 10 conversions, right? Okay,
Hmm.
great, 10 conversions. Who were those people? We have
Yeah.
no idea who those Google
Hmm.
Ads conversions were, or
Hmm.
organic or Google Business conversion. I call that like after the click conversion. And
Hmm.
then you'd start to work and you'd be like, hey, you work with practice owners and they'll say, I don't think the marketing's working at all. I'm like, well, you got all these leads, but I'd had no visibility in what happened after the click.
Yeah.
So what if you were to dive in now with TheraSaaS, you can say like, oh, we haven't been responding to anybody. Like they,
Right.
they would submit the form and they'd sit there for 3 days. Like
Hmm.
there's another issue there too. But until we had like a CRM, because the Google Sheet can only take you so far with that.
Hmm.
We were flying blind to it.
Yeah.
So I was financially incentivized to help solve these problems for my practice
Right.
owners,
Yeah.
and that was the stuff that was keeping me up at night. And
Yeah.
that's how TheraSaaS came about. I actually tested it on my marketing clients for a whole year
Hmm.
before, because I had to do all the HIPAA compliant stuff, right? Like there's a lot of
Yeah.
work there. But I tested on my marketing clients for a whole year just to see if it could work. Like if this is the thing, and
Yeah.
I was like, well, this actually does work, and let's open it up to the public to buy. And so that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Oh, I've known you for a few years now through conferences and stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm always impressed just by just the way that you educate folks about marketing and sales and funnels and leads and and kind of putting all these pieces together. So, I really do enjoy your content and your resources, and
Oh, thank
just
you.
kind of a plug for that. We'll
Yeah.
put all that good stuff in the show notes for this, of course. But before we kind of get into, these three challenges that we're going to talk about, let's sort of start at the beginning. I know a lot of folks, are becoming more and more savvy to marketing and platforms and, all these different things, conversions, whatever it is. But for the person who's like really just starting out, what is a CRM? Can
Yeah.
kind of throw out those acronyms.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Explain a little bit more about what is a CRM and why is it important? Well, you already explained a little bit of why it's important, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. So CRM is really just a customer relationship management tool. It's a piece of software, CRM.
Hmm.
Lawyers use them, plumbers use them, Nike and Tesla, they all use a CRM, probably Salesforce.
Yeah.
They've all been around for a while, but it's fairly new for practice owners because we had this thing called an EHR, right?
Yeah.
So EHR is really, if you think about an EHR, the electronic health record, that's really for your operations. It's
Yeah.
scheduling, it's payments, it's clinical notes, things like that. A CRM is like 100% sales and marketing. So
Hmm.
it's really that step. It's the software that you use to support your sales and marketing. It's
Yeah.
going to replace your Google Sheets and things like that. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But that's where usually people go before they go into an EHR, because at the end of the day, you just don't want anybody inside your EHR. You want clients inside your EHR.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have filled up their EHR with just client leads that actually are never becoming clients. And so uh, to me, I like to kind of keep things siloed off. And as
Yeah.
practice, like the evolution of a group practice as they're growing and scaling up. And this is like with any business, you have to silo off those conversations for your intake team to have that are just the sales and marketing related. You
Right.
just need that. And it's not just for the transparency, but for the data and the
Hmm.
metrics, and then also the dashboards and for your marketing team, right? It all starts to connect and talk with one another. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the difference between a CRM. It's like sales and marketing, and an EHR is really your operations. So
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
is that help? Is that kind of clear and kind of differentiating? I mean, dentists use these at the end of the day
Right.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that that's a good point of like keeping these things separate. And that's something for myself too in my own business. I've got a tool that I use that is just our leads come in and I can see at what stage they're at,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
conversations we've had, what notes do I have connected to their challenge that they're trying to solve that we could potentially help them with. And there's sort of there's a different brain, part of the brain that I feel like I use when I'm focused on just like the sales side of things. And I'm really the one who's doing that for a practice. It might be an intake coordinator, but it helps you, I think, focus in on those conversations to make sure nothing gets, nothing falls through the cracks, that sort of thing. And then it's a whole different sort of approach to someone who's already a client. You're serving them and they're in their EHR. So yeah, I
Yeah.
really appreciate you kind of separating that out because I feel like that can get pretty muddy if everyone's all in one place and you're trying to figure out like what stage is this person at? How many conversations have we had? How many touch points have we had with them?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so like going back to, 2021 at the beginning when I was sharing with my wife and this convoluted Google sheet we had, client leads were falling through the cracks, right? So we were probably looking at $4,000 to $6,000 a month in potential revenue that just wasn't happening. That was costing us because of the
Yeah.
inefficiency of it. Communications with client leads were on different platforms. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's like different, like very little transparency on things.
Mm-hmm.
It's scattered. And then we just didn't have accurate sales and marketing data. So I was a marketing guy, but I needed to be able to make critical decisions. Like, were the ads working? Do we need to pivot? As how's
Yeah.
the local SEO doing? Are people finding us through the Google business page? Like, we just didn't have any of that information.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a little bit kind of how we got to that point where it's like, all right, we need to change something here.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
uh, so anyways, if I can just share, like, that
Yeah.
sent me down a path
Yeah.
to figuring out like we need to solve. So there was a CRM tool out there that I was able to customize and make HIPAA compliant with the text messaging with third party. I mean, I was paying like it's a lot better now, but I was paying like 6,000 a year to Twilio just for HIPAA compliant text message. And then Twilio is like
Wow.
hospital grade, like
Mm.
they're like
Yeah.
the biggest players in this space. So I was like just investing a ton of time and money just to see if this would work. And so, like I said, I tested on my marketing clients, and then finally opened it up in December of 2 years ago, I think. And it's just kind of been there. And so what we've seen, and what for my own marketing clients, the clients weren't falling through the cracks. All the communication was centralized, so you could see everything right
Yeah.
on one window.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can talk about a little bit more what that looks like. But and now I had accurate sales and marketing data,
Yeah.
including like the newsletters and everything. It was just all in one place. We can see how it was going. So kind of what I'm thinking we can talk about is like those three ways practice owners can leverage a CRM, and then maybe some like helpful sales information practice
Yeah.
owners potentially use to train their intake coordinator or their intake teams.
Yeah.
So we can,
Absolutely. Sounds good.
okay.
Let's do it.
Uh, I usually start with this saying, I don't know who says this stuff, but it's been around, like, the riches are in the niches and the fortune is in the follow up.
Yeah.
And so a CRM like TheraSaaS is all about that follow up process.
Yeah.
And it's like now more than ever, it's really important because I shared at one of the conferences we were at, I talked a little bit about what I call big therapy. So it's this venture capital money that's coming in, and it's sucking
Hmm.
up a lot of the market share from independent private practices.
Yeah.
And so the follow up, private practices, their follow up process needs to be rock solid, so no one's
Hmm.
falling through the cracks. So when I share people about what a CRM can do, I think about level one. And a level one is that you're just centralizing your lead. So you're moving them from your Google Forms, Excel spreadsheets, Post-it notes, notebooks. You're getting all that information off of those platforms, and you're moving it into TheraSaaS, right? The CRM.
Hmm.
Because what happens is a lot of manual work's going to happen. So what do I mean by that? What I've found in talking with practice owners is that they're having to copy and paste from like an email to a Google Sheet, or have to go from handwriting something on a Post-it note, typing it into the computer,
Hmm.
or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
we found that their intake coordinators are spending probably 5 to 10 hours a week just in manual work, just doing that, copying and
Wow.
pasting or writing down, right? So practice owners are like, you're saying, like, there's as saving us money, probably $200 to $800 a month, and just wasted like
Yeah.
time, just not being productive in that. All right.
Yeah.
So really, level one, get all of that client lead information in one place, and in
Hmm.
visual pipelines, so you can see those different stages and them becoming a paying client. All right. So you're just nurturing that relationship. So just get everything visible. So everyone on your team, practice owners, admins, clinical director, whatever, it's all in one place. All right. So
Yeah.
you're not scattering. A
Yeah.
level two, I kind of like a level two of using our CRM is, okay, now let's start to centralize your communications. So they're all, there's a thing called the unified inbox. So your text messages, your emails, your phone calls, the voicemails, like all those are in one place for your intake team to be able
Hmm.
to handle. And then you can start to use automation or time-based automations on that when you're reaching out. Like, so for example, if someone submits a form using the TheraSaaS form, there's automations that will send an email that says, hey, we got your form. Someone on our team is going to be reaching out to you in the next 24 hours, or whatever it might be that you have for your policy. And what that's doing is it's closing that communication loop. So the client lead fill out the form, you send something out, and that's all automated. It buys your team a little bit of time, and it lets them know that we got the form, we're going to be reaching out.
Hmm.
And now you start to see, because, like, I mean, there's also other practice owners, they have this too, right? There's practice owners that will be woken up in the middle of the night wondering, I wonder if that person was ever responded to. Like, I wonder if we ever
Yeah.
got back to that person.
Right.
And now, if you centralize that communication, you can see all that information right there really quickly. And you don't have to like kind of dig and go through like
Yeah.
back channels to see if your intake coordinator is doing their job or responding quickly,
Yeah.
things like that. So that's really kind of a level two of when it comes to using a CRM is you centralize your communication.
Yeah.
Before I get to level three, did you want to ask any question on that level one or level two? Because those are usually like the big
Yeah.
holes that are missing for
Yeah.
private practices as far as an intake process goes.
Yeah, and no questions really, but just kind of like thinking through this, I just feel like having like what value that like such a high value to have everything in one place because of what what you just mentioned, like saving so much time and peace of mind. Just because you get like, oh, what happened to this person? I saw this email come through, whatever. You go to one place and you can see,
Yeah.
oh, my intake coordinator responded to them, or oh, they're at this stage. And that just saves so much time just to have one place and just bring everything all together. I mean, that's just highly valuable, especially with there's just so many touch points that we can have with people. And even I'm
Mm-hmm.
also thinking through like the conversations that I have with potential clients and talking
Yeah.
about their marketing. And I always like, I ask questions to get a sense of how are they doing? And like, oh, how are most people coming to you? How are most new clients coming to you? And they're like, mostly word of mouth. Um, sometimes, sometimes through Google, and you're trying to find out what they have in place, and most people don't have a lot of this stuff in place,
You're
so they
like, well,
can't.
how do you know that?
Yeah, exactly. I
How do
get
you know it's a
that. Yeah,
feeling like
I get that question too. Like, I don't really know how to track that, because some people will call, some people
Yeah.
may visit the website, but then they'll just call the number on the website, so we're not totally sure, and there is a lot of ways that people, connect with your
Yeah.
business. So, I mean, just
Well,
having everything in one place is just huge.
let's talk about attribution for a little bit. So as a
Hmm.
marketer, that was big for me, right? Where
Yeah.
are these leads coming from? And I have people on TheraSaaS, they will buy multiple phone numbers through
Yeah.
the platform. And one will be for Psychology Today. So they can see how many times Psychology Today
Yeah.
is, their people are making calls to that. Um, they'll use their TheraSaaS email for Psychology Today to like send the form to or something. So they can at least be tracking that, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Google Ads. So what I was talking about after the click, you see that conversions are taking place on the Google Ads platform, but you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And so, like, you don't even know if they actually converted into becoming a paying client. Well, TheraSaaS can actually, if you have your UTM tracking links up, right, you have your tracking parameters set inside Google Ads. It's going to track. TheraSaaS will track those leads like they do in Google Analytics, except it will attach that conversion event on Google Ads with an actual contact. So
Yeah.
now you have like a one-to-one connection on that.
Yeah.
That's
It's amazing.
powerful.
Yeah.
I just had people had some. I'm going to do a whole video on what practice owners need to know about Google Ads managers because I am one. I've done them. I've done it
Mm-hmm.
when I wasn't a revenue partner, sharing partner with these practices that I've helped support, and they have lots of concerns. Like at the end of the day, marketers want to show ROI.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they'll say is that they want to be able to point back the leads. And so that was their big question yesterday on two different tickets, support tickets. I was like, yeah, let me show you how we can actually track those Google ads. So your Google ads guy doesn't have to worry about it. The forms are going to work for them.
Mm-hmm.
So attributions get, and then I always think have on your TheraSaaS form, how did you hear about us? Because then you can start to
Yeah.
use TheraSaaS to track those referral sources. You can tag them in there and say, this is a referral source. And you can also track how many times they refer to you. So pull up a report every 3 months. Who are your top referral sources?
Yeah.
Right. And then here's another thing I like to say when it comes to attribution. When you're first starting a practice, you're usually going to see Google's, if you're doing your SEO and your Google ads, Google's going to be your main referral source. But as a practice matures, you really want to start to see that more 50-50,
Mm-hmm.
right? So your word of mouth, I heard from a friend or another psychiatrist or whatever, but you need a CRM to be able to like pull that data up really, really fast. And you can
Yeah.
see, all right, my marketing's in a healthy place. I like to see that 50-50 split. So attribution is a huge part of why, like what a CRM could do for you and get it done very quickly and
Yeah.
being able to see that information.
Yeah. Because once you have that data. I mean, without data, you can't make informed decisions. And that's where I feel like people get very confused. And I have these
Emotional.
consultation calls like, this guy said this thing, and then this person said this thing. So I tried to do this, and then I tried to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and if you don't have the data, you can't say like, well, it seems like we are seeing more growth from Google. Let me start investing into Google a little more in my SEO work to bring that up to a place
Yeah.
where it should be. Or I'm getting like you said, referrals from this source. Let me even, let's say it's a church. Like, let me
Yeah.
reach out to whoever's there and thank them and develop that
Yeah.
relationship so that continues to grow.
Pastors reaching out or recommending, like, you want
Yeah.
to know that information, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, there's another, if I can move on to level three and
Yeah,
kind of
let's do
talk
it.
about, so level three is now you're starting to centralize your marketing. So level one and two, we're talking about sales, the
Hmm.
follow-up process, right? Centralizing your marketing. So if you're doing social media, if you're in that thing, right, TheraSaaS, you can schedule social media posts through it, but you can also use TheraSaaS as your newsletter. So now, because like everyone who signs up, right, they fill out that form, they're interested in an appointment, they may not convert into a paying client, but
Yeah.
you have their email. They've consented for you to email them, right, until they unsubscribe. You can just add them to your newsletter or put them in a nurture sequence where you
Yeah.
just communicate them on you build a relationship with them through email on autopilot. You're building that trust, and it's all right there. And so now you have a dashboard, right? You can have these metrics on how many leads have come into the practice, how many they've converted, how many people are on your newsletter. What else? You could see how they heard about you. Right now, you have this full picture of how the health of your sales and marketing within just like 3 clicks. You can get this information as soon as you set up your dashboard. Right.
Hmm.
So now you have everything. Your sales and marketing are talking to your together. You're
Yep.
sleeping better at night. Clients aren't
Oh,
falling
yes.
clients aren't falling through the cracks. I mean, here's the other thing. Like, I am okay, so I'm pretty sure I'm an Enneagram 6, and a lot of our friends who are therapists have confirmed that I am an Enneagram 6. And what that means for me as a business owner is that I want to have systems of redundancy in place, right? So I
Yeah.
have multiple people on my support team. I have people that can jump in and do certain tasks. And so for practice owners, sometimes your intake coordinator just quits, or you might
Hmm.
have to fire them, right? Like, there's like worst case scenarios. And if you don't have a CRM in place that you could quickly jump in and triage, right, and keep those
Yeah.
conversations going because you see exactly where that person left off in those conversations. If you
Hmm.
don't have that, then that keeps you up at night. That's like a major stressor. And you
Yeah.
can easily train somebody in just a few minutes to be able to jump in and say, hey, can you follow up with these contacts inside TheraSaaS? And just
Yeah.
send some emails or whatever. You know what I mean? It's that simple.
Yeah.
But for me, systems of redundancy and having software to support those systems is really important.
Yeah.
So just a
Absolutely.
side note from an Enneagram 6, all my Enneagram Sixers out there,
Yeah.
feel me.
Yeah. Peace of mind. I'm an Enneagram 9, but I think I have like a 6 wing because like that peace of mind and like I mean, I guess the 9 is the peacemaker, so I'm like constantly like evolving my systems to create more peace and structure within my life. So systems, it's actually one of the things I enjoy a lot about owning a business is like it's like a different piece of creativity for me to create
Mm,
automations and systems and
yeah.
processes that everyone can we can go and see the process and it's right there. And so if somebody does leave our team, like you said, you can bring someone on board quickly. Or even for myself, sometimes I have to jump into things. And I've got the process there for myself. Like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
this is how we do it. I can hop in and fill this gap for now until we hire. So
Yeah.
good point, good advice, good wisdom there.
Yeah. I mean, that's the how do I say it? Like, the difference between like maybe a food truck and a fast food joint
Mm,
is really just systems of scale,
yeah.
right? Like, you can make the same food in one, but like if you want to scale up a restaurant using, like, your systems have to become tighter. And
Hmm.
this is the push and pull for any practice owners who have scaled up to 20, 30, 40 clinicians. Just know that their systems have to be tighter, and that feeling of a mom and pop shop isn't there anymore,
Yeah.
because things just have to be more rigid as you
Yeah.
scale up,
Right.
right? And that may not be true if you just have 3 or 4 clinicians.
Hmm.
But as you're scaling, you need to have systems that are tight, and you probably need a software to support that.
Yeah.
So just as you have like QuickBooks I mean, imagine scaling a practice without QuickBooks or some sort of bookkeeping, right?
Hmm.
So like you need to have some sort of software to scale up. So if you're going to keep track of those finances or scale up a practice in multiple locations, you need an AHR. The same thing comes with your marketing and a
Yeah.
CRM. Just
Right.
goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I'm, can I share some interesting sales things? So I want to share a
Yeah.
couple like statistics, and my hope is that it will kind of, as practice owners, as business owners, we often forget what it might be for that other person on the phone line, that client lead, what might be going on in their mind and in their
Yes.
life.
Yes.
So I think this is helpful. So I was at a marketing, it's called Agency Builders, just great people down there. And I go to this retreat every year. And there's a gentleman named Tyler Piggott. He's one of the founders of this builder. So anyways, he had a marketing agency and he sold it in 2023. It was valued at like $150 million or something crazy like that. So he was the CEO, but he was also the main sales guy. So he gave this talk.
Hmm.
He's just a real sweet guy. Yeah, really good guy. I can't say enough good things about Tyler. Well, he had he had two numbers that were up on the screen. The first one was 4,000,
Hmm.
and then underneath that was 8 seconds. So I'm curious. I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you think from a sales guy? From perspective, what do you think that 4,000, that number 4,000 might have represented?
Maybe number of visits to a website or number of leads?
No, no. It's a terrible question, Dan. I really put you on the spot. The 4,000 really is talking about the amount of interruptions someone will experience in one day.
Ah.
So I'm talking micro interruptions, and we
Hmm.
know these interruptions, right? We're talking
Yeah.
text messages, we're
Yeah.
talking emails, we're talking Slack messages, the Apple Watch buzzing. Every
Hmm.
times I have a conversation with someone in person and their watch is and they're constantly looking at their
Yeah.
wrist,
Yeah.
because they're getting buzzed, right? That's a micro interruption. Phone notifications, Facebook notifications, TikTok, whatever,
Hmm.
calendar reminders, a sound, a vibration, a smell, right?
Hmm.
And this number goes way higher for those that are like ADHD, right?
Yeah.
Each tap, a buzz, a pop, like these are all these small interruptions in your day.
Yeah.
And I mean, just a couple years ago, let's say 10 years ago, he said there's about 1,800 interruptions in a day. And now it's like
Oh, gosh.
3x that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, the 8 seconds, he said, it stands for the attention span of somebody.
Hmm.
Okay. So we have those two things at place, right? So kind of hold those numbers, 4,000 micro interruptions, and then 8 second attention span. He also said this about sales. So he said 80% of his deals that were over $10,000 required 5 or more follow-ups.
Hmm.
60% of those deals are lost to no decision. So neither person, the salesperson or the other person, it just went away. It just kind of ghosted, like you said.
Yeah.
They just fell apart. No decision was made.
Yeah.
And he said 44% of sales gives up after one try.
Mm.
So even though practice owners are not doing $10,000 deals, I wonder if there are policies that practice owners have in place for their intake team and how many times they are to at least reach out.
Yeah.
Do they have a policy in place to say, all right, we actually want a decision from someone? It's not up to you. Like sometimes you'll get ghosted, right? They
Hmm.
abandon you.
Yeah.
Uh, but is there at least a no? Can we at least get a yes or a no? Or
Yeah.
maybe can you put us on a wait list, right? So it's not
Hmm.
left to just no decision at all. But my other question would be, um, if you do have a policy in place, how are practice owners holding their intake coordinators or the intake teams accountable to that?
Hmm.
Right? Are they able
Right.
to do an audit in how they're doing? Right?
Yeah.
Do the practice owners have some sort of place in their dashboard? Are they tracking conversion rates at the end of the day? Right?
Hmm.
Because Google Sheets can only take you so far, but
Right.
a CRM, like we talked about, can do that easily.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to think, all right, there's a lot of distractions in the life of client leads when they're reaching out for help, right? And they're even more distracted because they're just overwhelmed. The reason why they're opening up is there's some sort of trauma probably taking place in their life,
Right.
whatever that
Yeah.
might be. And is there a place that a policy in place and a way to track kind of these empathetic reach outs to them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
So something that I think it's helpful for practice owners to remember. Now,
Yeah.
when I was doing, I had a couple intake coordinators on my team do a little research on themselves because I was curious. So I'm going to share like the tale of three practices and kind of some metrics behind that. So
Cool.
I had one practice that I do marketing for. There's only 3 clinicians and they got about 25 leads per month. And I asked the intake coordinator, I say, all right, take the last 30 days or less, like the last 30 people who closed um, that became paying clients. Tell me how many average days it took to schedule them and how many touch points there were that you made. And so in this particular client, it took about 2 days to schedule somebody. And there was about 4 touch points over those 2 days to schedule. Now, some of
Hmm.
these people, they're very willing to, get in. Like the motivation for them to schedule is high.
Yeah.
So in this case, about 2 days and 4 touch points. Another one, there's about 5 clinicians, 40 leads per month were coming in. The average time it took to schedule a client was about a day and a half, and the average touch point was about 2 for this one.
Hmm.
And the interesting one was this: is she just loves to be on the phone all the time, but she's almost like a full-time intake coordinator, so she has the time to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
The other one, the third practice is 28 clinicians, over 100 leads per month. And the average days to schedule was 6 days. And there was about 6 touch points by the intake coordinator schedule.
Interesting.
Uh, Two things on this. One is, I don't know if this means anything, but they were insurance based, primarily insurance. The other two that I shared were private pay. Um, the other one, how many touch points? We have one intake coordinator that works. And so that was telling me, maybe she needs an extra layer of support on that to maybe shorten that, how many touch points and how many days
Hmm.
it took to schedule.
Yeah.
You can imagine how much she's trying to juggle to make it work, right?
Yeah. With all 100 leads, it's a lot
Yeah.
for one person.
Now, there could also be another. Now, why are metrics important? So maybe most of the people were filled up. These 28 clinicians were like, schedules were
Hmm.
filled. So it just took a longer to schedule
Yeah.
somebody in there, right? All I'm saying is some of this research raises questions, and having a CRM, you can get to those answers pretty quickly and do
Right.
some diagnostics pretty fast.
Yeah.
Like, let's say your conversion rate's low. Let's say it's only at 10%. Well, why is that? Is it
Hmm.
an intake problem? Are we not we're getting back to people? But maybe the schedules are all everyone has very little availability, so everyone's automatically just
Yeah.
going on a wait list, right?
Hmm.
So that's some of the research I think that could be helpful for practice owners to think about. And I want to say it's actually okay to reach out several times. Like, I mean, you know this, Daniel. Like, we're so busy with our kids. Like, the
Yes.
amount, I'm embarrassed to say it, but the amount of doctor's appointments I forgot. Like we're just like
Yeah.
completely forgot. And
Yeah.
and sometimes we're like, what I appreciate about my dentist? They text me 30 days in advance, like a reminder. They're like, hey,
Mm.
by the way, 30 days. By the way, in 2 weeks. By the way, in 1 week. Like
Yeah.
they are, and honestly, and then they make a phone call.
Yeah.
Like I actually kind of appreciate that. So,
Yeah. Right.
anyways,
Yeah.
I said a lot there, Dana. I don't know if you want to ask any questions or make any
No,
commentary.
this is all good wisdom. I feel like one thing that I'm kind of hearing throughout our whole conversation is really like knowing your numbers really helps you make really good decisions. And I love like what you're talking about is kind of like you got to put on your detective hat and look in those
Mhm.
gaps. And we do the same thing when it comes to SEO because it's a similar,
Yeah.
we're looking for ROI for our clients. And so, you're looking at, okay, how many people saw your website on the Google search results? Okay, then how many people clicked? Okay, how many people landed on this page? How many people then took action? And you're looking at those gaps between those different steps
Mhm.
to say, oh, looks like people are seeing your listing on Google, but they're not clicking. We need to rewrite this content to like really entice people to click. Without knowing the data, you would never know to dig into that. Or you also on like the flip side, you don't know the work that you're doing is actually impacting those conversions and those different numbers and stuff. So, as you grow and things get a little bit more complex, having data can help you really simplify and make these informed data informed decisions. I like to say to folks.
Yeah, yeah. No, and that's really, and it just goes back to practice. Honestly, I at this stage of life, I just want sleep at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
and for practice owners, like it just helps you sleep better at night, knowing
Yeah.
that you got the data, and if you need to access it, you can, right? You can
Yeah.
diagnose issues a whole lot faster
Yeah,
with this.
absolutely.
Can I share maybe just a couple more things on what value? Like I was going to talk a little bit about value based follow up when it
Yeah.
comes, because like I know practice owners like sales, it feels icky, right? They're
Yeah.
like they don't like think about it.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, it's sales. Your intake coordinator is a sales position, and I
Yeah.
think there's ways to do that so you don't feel icky.
Hmm.
Because if you don't have sales coming in, cash is oxygen to your business, like you need it.
Yeah.
So Tyler said here, he said buyers forget about you when you're not present at the right time.
Mm.
So we're going to talk about like what does it look like to show up maybe at the right time. That's why a newsletter is helpful, because there will be, honestly, I've seen it where people like, I've been following your wife's newsletter for over 2 years. I think my daughter needs help, right? You've actually
Hmm.
seen that. Now that's an
Yeah.
anomaly. Some people just need help right away,
Hmm.
but you've nurtured that relationship for that long. And guess
Yeah.
what? I'll tell you this about newsletter, and then I'll move on. People share your newsletters.
Mm.
Oh, what was I? There was a story. Okay, yes, family. I went to the Stutzman family reunion out in Pennsylvania. No, no joke, Daniel. The Abraham and Sarah Stutzman reunion. My great grandfather, Abraham Stutzman. Anyway, so
Wow.
we go there. We haven't seen some of these people for like 8 years. They go up to my wife, not to me, but to my, they're like, Susan, I love your videos. I have I haven't seen one in a while. Have you stopped making videos? I share them. This was a sweet cousin. At this point, they're all cousins down in Florida. She's like, I share them with all my friends. Like
Wow.
it's so helpful. She's like a early childhood educator. Yeah, like I read your newsletters. Like there's people, and then they share them, right? So,
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah.
um, important about building a brand in a newsletter, but showing up the right time when
Hmm.
people need you,
Yeah.
because you never know when people actually will
Yeah.
share your newsletter.
Yeah.
But there's really two things. So Tyler talked about like value-based follow-up, and he had the four, but I simplified it for two, for private practice. The two things is engagement and trust. Engagement and
Hmm.
trust. All right. So value-based follow up as it relates to engagement. So, like I talked about that first, like some people would say, I would argue that really the therapeutic process starts at that moment where they're on your website, they've read your content, and they want to take that first step to schedule a consultation or schedule an appointment.
Yeah.
How you follow up after that is really starting that therapeutic process. Are you empathetic? Are you
Yeah.
timely? Right? Are
Hmm.
you leaving them hanging for several days? Right?
Yeah.
So that first email, right? Value based follow up is that confirmation email. Hey, we got your submission, or we got your phone call, or if you didn't get to answer the phone call, maybe there's a text message that says, hey, sorry, we missed your call. How can we help you? Right? You're
Hmm.
starting that engagement. Maybe there's a second email that goes up. Hey, saw that you were interested on your form in these therapists, right? Maybe there's a drop down that says, what therapist would you like to maybe connect with? You can then automate based on that selection. You could automate a couple blog posts that therapist
Yeah.
may have written. You just have an
Yeah.
automated email that goes out, right? Um, or maybe there's a third email that might go out and say, hey, uh, saw that you haven't responded in a few days. Would you like to set up a free 10-minute consultation? Give us a call, right? So that's the engagement, value-based engagement. Now let's talk a
Right.
little bit about some of the building trust. So we talked about why content. This is why SEO is important. You have good content is building trust. So consistent, short, little helpful micro content follow up. So when I'm dealing with TheraSaaS subscribers that are like they've done a demo, sorry, they're not subscribers, they're leads, right? Every email that I'm sending, I'm trying to send a piece of helpful content. Maybe that's a video that I've created, or
Hmm.
help, or whatever, a tool, whatever it might be. As I'm following up to say, hey, are you still interested in TheraSaaS? By the way, I made this video on this that I thought that could be helpful for you, right?
Yeah.
So you're not just saying, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while, unless you really want to get their attention. You just kind of like kind
Right.
of short with them. You're trying to find ways that based on previous conversations or what they filled out on that TheraSaaS form, maybe there's some content you can send along with those follow-up emails.
Yeah.
The other one would be timing of this. So stay close to the buying cycles of your of your clients. So what I mean by that is like, well, we know in the fall around holidays, like that's when people are going to be looking for to schedule appointments. So maybe you have some
Hmm.
content ready to go around that, how to deal with toxic family members or whatever.
Right.
Um, but the idea is like when they're not ready to buy, you can nurture them then with
Yeah.
a monthly newsletter
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Hmm.
So again, it goes back to that, the fortunes in the follow up, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have a system and a software that kind of helps you with these things, then
Yeah.
you're potentially missing out on revenue. And I guarantee you, these are like small things that you can do that set you apart by miles from
Yeah.
other practices out there because
Yeah.
other private practices are just not doing that.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a huge differentiator to have that follow up and those touch points. I think it looks professional, and I've gotten that feedback myself. Not trying to brag, but I've
Yeah.
got a funnel going, and where people fill out a form, and then they see a video, and then then they're sent an assessment that they get to work through before we're doing a call together. And I've had so many people say like your process was so. I was just really enjoyed following the steps, and I knew what to expect,
Yeah.
and that builds that trust. Like, oh, this person must know what they're doing because they're really taking care of me along the way.
Yeah. I mean, and also think for practice owners, don't assume that
Hmm.
client leads, like people just, they know how therapy works. They
Yeah.
probably don't.
Yeah.
And so going back to like, I made a video of this on, I do this with all my marketing clients that I support, my partnership clients, but it's every time they fill out a TheraSaaS form, I have it redirect to a thank you page.
Hmm.
Now, marketers like thank you page because they can use that as a conversion event, right?
Yep.
But also, what happens is just it just doesn't sales just doesn't stop there. You want to continue to reassure them that they made the right decision. So all my practice owners have a thank you video.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for scheduling an appointment or reaching out to us.
Yeah.
It takes a lot. We know it takes a lot of courage to ask for help. Here's what to expect next.
Yeah.
Someone on my team will reach out, will answer any questions you have. Like you're just slowly giving them, here's the next step, here's the next
Yep.
step, here's the next step, here's what to expect. And you're just kind of holding by the hand. And it's that type of care. You're doing this at scale, by the way. Like you're not having to do this. It's just the video, the website, the
Yeah.
systems are having to do that for you.
Yep.
But you're showing
Yep.
up and nurturing them and building that trust even after they submit the form. I think it's
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah. Yeah. It's huge. Well, I think that we can probably talk for hours and hours
Yeah.
about all this stuff, but I mean, it's such good wisdom. I really appreciate just like the depth that you take, Brent, and just kind of educating folks about this. And I know that it's been a while, but I remember seeing the demo of TheraSaaS, and you're doing some really amazing work. And like we've talked about having everything centralized. I remember being blown away seeing it in action. So I'm sure if folks check TheraSaaS out, they'll likely have the same experience as they see those demos. But why don't you let us just know a little bit more about how people can connect with you, check out
Yeah.
TheraSaaS, any free resources you might want to plug.
Yeah. So if you just go to TheraSaaS.com, that's TheraSaaS.com, and you can schedule a demo with me, see if it's a good fit. I really make sure that it's a good fit for your practice before you invest in another piece of software. Um, and then you could also just watch a lot of the videos that I have on the website, the client testimonials, and how that's helped. TheraSaaS has helped them. If you go to YouTube, and just search for TheraSaaS, and you can see a ton of the videos. Because at the end of the day, my mission is to help simplify sales and marketing for practice owners, and then
Yeah.
how to use a CRM to really support
Yeah.
those systems. So I have a ton of videos up there that you can watch that I think could be really helpful for you.
Awesome.
So yeah, go to YouTube, look up TheraSaaS, or go to TheraSaaS.com, schedule a demo with me. I'd love to see you there.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time, Brent. Really
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks
it.
for having me.